Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Nice to see you again.
You as
So
well.
here we are, second chapter of our intuition series. And we're just going to dive right in, make the most of our time that we've got here. So I want to thank everybody who's joining us. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And I really hope that you benefit from our dialogue today. So go ahead, Chris. You've got the baton.
Great. Well, we went through so many amazing things last week, and so maybe we could recap a few of them. We talked about like what is intuition and what are some of the blocks. And then I really want to go into like how does authenticity play into intuition? So that's kind of a big opening. Take it where you want.
Okay. So we'll recap a little bit. What is intuition? It's divine guidance. It's guidance from our higher self. It's guidance from the angelic host. It is constantly transmitting to us. And the only question is whether or not we're receiving and interpreting correctly. So intuition is always spot on. It's always 100% for you. It is always transmitting, never stops. The only question is whether we're receiving or not. And so I'll recap on that one a little bit and maybe expand. A lot of people don't realize that if you ignore the intuition, it does get quieter. So the reverse is also true. The more we tune in and listen to our intuition, the louder it gets. Okay. It's kind of like having a conversation with someone. If they notice that you're not listening, they're going to kind of fade away. And if they notice that you're active and engaged in listening, then they're going to participate more. And it kind of operates the same way for intuition. Okay. So intuition is constantly transmitting. And most humans don't realize that we have been socially conditioned and programmed to disconnect and ignore the intuitive guidance that is transmitting 100% of the time. So as a result, we're bumbling and we're stumbling, kind of like trying to work our way through the forest in the dark, not realizing that for optimum experience, for the most fun, for the most protection, for the most insight, for the most guidance, and for the greatest creativity, we want to be connected to and correctly receiving and interpreting intuition.
That's so huge. Like just that, I think, is a massive reframe for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But you're never alone. Like the
Never,
answers are
never.
always there.
Never. This is something I say to my clients. As you know, I love to use humor wherever we can because this journey is so challenging. So next time you're alone and you're picking your nose, you're never alone. Never, never, never alone. And there's such a comfort in that. And the other piece also is to recognize that some people, depending on their stage of awareness or their level of consciousness, they may feel fear when they think I'm never alone. And you're only going to feel fear about that if there's aspects of yourself that you're hiding, aspects of yourself that you haven't received, that you're not loving and that you're still judging. So I don't care that I'm being watched over 24/7 and that the angelic host and my higher conscious self and divine source is watching over me, because I know that that love and that guidance is 100% non-judgmental.
Mhm.
Okay. We are never bad. We are never wrong. We can be out of balance, false, incorrect, suffering, or in balance, aligned, correct. Not good and bad. That's polarizing. Correct. And our higher self, the guides, everyone that works and supports us knows that we come here to make mistakes. In a sense, you could say you can't really screw up. The truth is you can't really screw up. Life is about a series of experiences that offer us an opportunity to recognize whether or not we're in balance, when in line with divine, everything goes with an ease and a flow, or we're out of balance. So if we're out of balance, we may interpret being watched over 24/7 as invasive. I prefer it because I'm not hiding from any part of myself. I love all parts of myself. And that's an essential key to coming to stronger and stronger intuition.
Oh, that's huge. So much is in there to unpack even further. And the piece of if people feel afraid, like it's an invasion of my privacy or something, then it's something they're hiding. In the mainstream, we hear that talked about as our shadow aspects. And I know you have a very different take on that.
Yeah, well, we're often told that we have a shadow side. Okay, we're told that in especially in many religions that we're bad and we're wrong, that we're sinners and that we should be punished. And we've been indoctrinated into the polarized belief system, which is good and bad and right and wrong, success and failure and worthy and unworthy and winners and losers. And that's an entire belief system which creates polarity. Okay, it's an entire belief system that is essentially false and only controls us while we allow it to. Okay. So in the awakening process, we start to see that we're not good or bad or right or wrong. It is what it is. What are you going to do with it? It's actually an opportunity. So the shadow side, or my shadow self, or, those bad, sinful parts of me, however you want to phrase it, are not actually who you are on any level. It's an experience you're having. We can experience the shadow, the negative, the quote unquote sin. And I want to remind here too that there's no such thing as a mortal sin. That the term sin is a term used in archery, which means you missed your mark. So when we sin, by many religions, it's been turned into something that we believe we should be punished for, which is going to disconnect you from intuitive guidance. Okay. The shadow, the negative aspects, the sinner, the wrong, the bad, the mistake maker is only an experience that we're able to have while we're physically focused, while we're having the physical meat suit temple experience of the 3D reality. We're able to have the shadow experience, but it isn't who we are, not in any way. It's an experience we're having. The equivalent would be to say, while I'm riding a horse, I'm always a horse rider. No, you're not. You're only riding the horse while you're on the horse. And that's the experience you're having while you're on the horse. When you get off the horse, you're no longer having that experience. So metaphorically speaking, while we're in the physical reality, we're on the horse and experiencing the shadow. And when we're finished being in this physical reality, the shadow experience goes away the same way that the horse does. The horse leaves and goes back to where it lives, and you go back about your business, right? So it's really important to recognize that, because one of the ways that we get cut off from our intuition is through social conditioning and programming that says you have to earn it, you have to deserve it, you have to be worthy of it, blah, 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 blah. And nothing could be farther from the truth. And this is where authenticity comes in. So liars never grow. Lying is resistance. It's inauthentic. It's out of balance. And while we buy into a belief system, a thought, or an idea that says we're wrong and we're bad, we're actually lying to ourselves, which means we're going to be out of alignment. Now, you can and will still get some intuition here, hunches and nigglies and things like that. But the name of the game is to move towards that intuition, which we talked about in the last episode, where you literally pull it in. And I discussed some of the ways that my intuition works for me, and I use it in service and support of awakening and working with others. Authenticity is absolutely key. The more authentic you are, which is to say, when we come to really remember who and what we really are, and we be that, authenticity is automatically a part of it. And the reason that authenticity is such a huge piece is because we've been programmed to believe that truth is subjective perspective. Truth is the individual's version of events. The truth is who and what we are. So when we tell a lie, okay, if somebody's standing in front of me, or if I'm connected to them in any way on the phone or, through the internet or whatever, and that person tells a lie, I can actually feel it waver through their field, through their, what is called the aura or the biometric field. And a lot of us can do this. I can feel it through the field. Okay. And what we want to recognize is when we lie to ourselves by buying into a false belief system that says we're wrong or bad and we're sinners, okay, we're going out of balance. The more we lie, the farther out of balance. And we want to remember that intuition in its most powerful form is in authentic alignment, which says, I can screw up, I can make mistakes, and I'm going to while I'm in this physical reality, because we're here to experience contrast. So we've come to experience what we're not, so that we can practice mastering energy and emotion to realign with the truth of who and what we are. And in that state of alignment, intuition is very, very powerful and allows us to know and see things that the vast majority of humankind at this time would say is impossible. And in fact, for them, it is. It will be possible for us as an individual at the subjective level until we consciously choose to align with our divine nature and remember that we all make mistakes. It's okay. It's not what happens to you that matters. It's what you do with it. Mistakes and our sins are actually opportunities for us to recognize that it doesn't feel good. And what you do to feel good. And the minute you feel better, you move into alignment. Excuse me, I'm not talking about feeling better if you are a psychopath or a sociopath, or even on the spectrum of NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, because what feels good to them will completely gratify the ego state. Okay. And in the future, we can talk about the stages of consciousness. And the first stage of consciousness is one where we completely identify as the egoic self. We identify as our personality being our identity. We think that the job we have and the car we drive and the spouse we have and the money we have and where we live and the title and our looks is our identity. And what is correct is that that is an experience you're having. Our true identity is that of an immortal, multidimensional, interdimensional, multisensory being, energetic being. And when we connect to that being authentically through love, wow, I can't imagine living in this embodiment without the sensitivities that I have. I literally would not want to be here at all. So that's a lot for you.
That's so,
You can relate.
I love it, because this seems really helpful and powerful as a tool to remember. And there's so much packed into this, like sinning, making mistakes, forgetting, kind of blocks. We still get little bits of intuition, I heard you say, but it's like this opens flow of intuition. And all this really boils down to, I'm hearing you say, is remembering who we really are.
Yes. Yes. And most of us don't know who and what we really are because we're so deeply living the lie. We're so deeply socially conditioned and programmed that we have forgotten who and what we are. And society, okay, is deliberately programming us to forget who we are so that society, the systems, the financial system, the education system, the religious system, the political system, the education system, the systems of the matrix, as I refer to them, okay, rely on our buying into them in order to have the power to exist. So if we, for example, stopped voting for all the corrupt politicians, the political system would collapse. Most people believe that, well, I need to vote for the candidate that I think is correct. And what they don't recognize is that the entire system from the core, from its inception, is corrupt. So we have to set ourselves free from that external system that says you're wrong, you're bad, and you're a sinner. And we want to start to recognize that when in balance, when in line with divine, everything will go with an ease and a flow. You'll be having your best day. Everything just comes. Miracle, magic, red carpets, insight, intuition, protection, guidance there all the time. Okay. And that is alignment. It's also what is referred to as the awakened state. What we don't recognize is that we've been programmed to believe while we're having the very natural, normal, and necessary experience of imbalance, which doesn't feel good, we've been programmed to shame, blame, and persecute, to punish ourselves while we're out of balance. So when we're out of balance and we believe that we're wrong and we're bad, it gets really hard to be authentic with yourself. Because it's like a parent who says to the child, tell me the truth, and I will not punish you. And then you tell the truth and the parent punishes you. Well, who's going to be honest? If you've got a core belief system that says, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm a sinner, I should be punished. And what we're going to do then is we're going to add defense mechanisms and maladaptive coping mechanisms to cover all of that up.
And get like fake good feeling. That's not this good feeling.
Yeah, drink it, snort it,
yeah,
drug it, sex it, eat it, whatever the distraction is, to numb out, to block out, to deny, to deflect, and to distort feeling what we're actually really feeling. And we block the feelings because we've forgotten who and what we are. And in all fairness, we've been deliberately socially programmed and conditioned to forget, so that the system, which doesn't have any power of its own, can get our power through our focus. Remember, energy follows attention. Whatever you put your attention upon becomes your reality and expands. The longer you hold your attention upon it, the more deeply you go into that experience. So it's easy to see how we've been programmed to believe, particularly by religions, okay, to doubt ourselves instead of saying, wow, I feel crap. I'm believing a lie because my natural state is love. But what is love? There's a whole other field of lies. We've been programmed to believe that love is sentiment, that love is romance, that love is possession, that love is control, that love is lust. It's not. It's unconditional acceptance and unconditional appreciation. Unconditional means no exceptions. And most of us remain out of balance because we conditionally love ourselves and therefore do not have access to the full-blown intuitive sensitivities, which are our birthright, which are our natural state of being, which we are allowed to and meant to bring into the physical story. As above, so below. As within, so without. So when we make that connection, it begins through the awakening process to alter who we are inside, how we view our world. Excuse me, and that's the work that I take people through. And then when we're aligned internally and living more balance, more harmony, more unity, not good or bad or right or wrong, when that becomes our internal reality in stages and degrees, it then begins to reflect our external reality. And most of us believe that our external reality is the truth of who and what we are. It's not. The external reality happens second. The internal reality projects the external reality. So when we change the internal, we alter the external. The vast majority of people, excuse me, it's so dry here. The vast majority, I'm adjusting to the desert. The vast majority of people don't realize that your external reality is a mirror of the internal. So if you are shaming and blaming other people, guaranteed, as a core belief, you're holding it yourself, and your intuition will remain inconsistent, erratic, and definitely not powerful and stable, consistent. My intuition is alive and well all the time. And you've seen me do this again and again, right? I know exactly how to access higher consciousness to bring in information that the vast majority of people would believe that I cannot bring in, that it isn't possible. Another thing about intuition, I'll say this, then I'll let you get a word in edgewise.
This is so good.
That the religions have taught us about intuition is that because you can't see it, hear it, taste it, touch it, or smell it, it's evil. Okay. So we do want to recognize intuition is never cut off, and that your degree of intuition, the amount of intuition you receive, the different ways that you receive it, and the different things that you can intuit to understand will be determined by your level of consciousness, because the universe doesn't give keys to burglars. Would you give the keys to your house to a burglar, Chris?
No.
Right. So if you imagine for a moment, I realize that some people listening may not have a frame of reference, but for yourself, you've seen me demonstrate these abilities, and I'm not special. I'm here to demonstrate that we can all do this. So can you imagine if the level of intuitive sensitivity that I have was available to just anybody, regardless of the level of consciousness?
It would be so dangerous in those hands.
It would be absolute destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so again, back to authenticity, back to being who and what you truly are. To be or not to be
Mm-hmm.
who and
It's
what you really are.
And it begins with loving and accepting yourself, that unconditional love for
I think
ourselves.
I think it begins with recognizing that you can't go forward anymore. The first stage of awakening, the first stage of enlightenment is that collapse, which says,
Mhm.
I can't go on like this anymore. I just can't do it. I feel so low. My world is falling apart. Nothing goes with an ease and a flow. And I feel like I'm alone and lonely, and I'm living in lack and significant
Mhm.
imbalance,
Mhm.
right? And the first step is to recognize that you can't go on anymore, that in whatever area or all areas of your life, I can't do this anymore. And when we say, okay, I can't do this anymore, the willingness that rises up within us to say, okay, I give up, is actually an energetic signal, you could say, to
Mhm.
higher conscious self and to all the guides and the support, which I refer to as the angelic host. Okay, that signals to them that we are now open, right? We have to be
Mhm.
open. That's the first stage. And then we work our way up from there. And for many people, for most people, that will include redefining what we've been taught to believe about who and what we are, about what life is really about what love really is. Okay. Unconditional acceptance, unconditional appreciation. Now, this doesn't mean that we tolerate disrespectful, destructive, or disharmonious behaviors in ourselves or in others. It means we don't resist it, because whatever you resist will persist. It's going to continue, because like attracts like. So we need to start to release the resistance, to start to open up, to soften, so that that guidance can begin to come through, because
Mhm.
you can't receive anything through a closed door.
We're
Powerful.
so up against it with all the conditioning and programming. And here in the US, I've seen so many people who are plugged into watching the news and
Yeah.
thinking politics are what make a difference. Like they're looking out there, they feel like crap and they feel helpless and hopeless and angry. And it seems like, I mean, that reminder of as within, so without, like unplugging from all that and
Yes.
plugging into
Yes. Well,
this.
it's saying, if I'm gonna quit drinking alcohol because I realize it's destroying my life, you've got to stop.
Yeah.
And then people will say, well, I've worked with many people in addiction recovery, or what I call distraction. Okay, that's essentially what it is. It's a distraction, and you have to be willing to let go of the distraction. And how do you let it go? Stop watching the
Mhm.
news, stop watching the social media, because that's the way that we are socially conditioned and programmed, brainwashed. That is how we're disempowered. So we need to disconnect from the disempowered programming, right? The longer
Mhm.
you've been tuning into it, the more you've been tuning into it, the more deeply you're indoctrinated. So it'll take a little bit longer. It's like, I dove in the water. I went 10 feet. Took me just a few seconds to get back up. You went 10,000 feet. It's going to take you a little bit longer.
Uh-huh.
And that's why we have to hit that bottom, because hitting that bottom becomes the impetus, the inspiration to do whatever we need to move towards relief.
Mhm.
And for many people, relief can be experienced simply by saying to yourself, excuse me, water next time, simply by saying to yourself, I can't screw this up. I'm loved no matter what. I don't have
Mhm.
a shadow side. I'm having a shadow experience. I'm not wrong. I'm not bad. I may be incorrect, but I can also be correct. Okay, now we're not talking about good and bad and right and wrong in the sense of, there's a good way to turn on the car and there's a bad way to turn on the car. Okay.
Mhm.
The bad way would be to rip out all the wires and hot wire it. And the good way would be to put the ignition, to
Yeah. Yeah. The key in the ignition. Yeah.
yeah. So for anybody who's listening, I would say just begin with entertaining the new thought that says, I really can't screw this up. And the deeper the pain I'm experiencing, the more lack, the more suffering, the more dis-ease. Dis-ease in the body is created through prolonged states of misalignment, prolonged states of separation. So the more suffering, the more separation from your true divine nature. It's very simple, but not easy. Very simple, but not easy, right? So
Yeah, it's such it's like, I was thinking of it like we've crawled our whole life. We've been told you can only crawl. You don't have access to these things below your knees or whatever. And that may not be the best analogy, but there's just this possibility waiting for us through gaining access to our intuition.
yes, and the irony is that another social conditioned and program, another form of indoctrination, is to teach people to believe that special people are psychic, special people are empathic, special people have these intuitive sensitivities, and it's a load of BS.
Uh-huh.
We all have it. It's just a question of whether we've awoken to it and developed it or not. We all have it. So everybody is psychic. And the irony is that even when you're disconnected, you're still receiving information through the intuitive sensitivities, which include to be deeply empathetic. So somebody who's deeply empathetic is somebody who feels someone else. But you see, because society doesn't give us a healthy model for living, most people who are deeply sensitive and not fragile, but sensitive and feel other people can also be fragile.
Uh-huh.
Don't know how to create boundaries. They don't understand how to interpret the information. You could take, say, for example, a bully, somebody who's a bully, okay? A bully is actually using the intuitive sensitivities at a very low grade level to suss out, they instinctually, it's called instinct, okay?
Mhm.
They instinctually sense when their victim is weak. They can feel it. Okay,
Mhm.
that's intuitive sensitivity coming in. And we all have it. We all have it. But again, the universe doesn't give keys to burglars. So truly heightened and powerful states of intuitive sensitivity will not come until the individual practices living in integrity. Never lie to yourself. Never, 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 never lie to yourself. You may need to lie to somebody in the external reality in order to save your life. Okay, but never lie to yourself. With regards to the external reality, that's a need to know basis, because there are people who do not have your best interests at heart. And if you are vulnerable and you share information with them, they may well use it against you. And this is why people who are beginning to awaken to the intuitive sensitivities have to run and hide. We're not designed to run and hide. The more empowered you are, the more you can actually stand in the foray, or to be in the battlefield, and not allow it to affect you. You've developed the ability to create boundaries. So it's very important that we recognize we all have these sensitivities. And there are more people now on earth than ever before who have awoken to these sensitivities and are beginning to use them in a constructive and productive way for the greater good of all.
Wow.
Like yourself, working with the animals, working with horses, okay?
Mhm.
That is you in your particular area of expertise. That's you developing your sensitivities to be of support and service. When we consistently, sustainably, over time, demonstrate that we use these gifts, we use these birthright gifts for the greater good of all, not for personal gain, not for manipulative purposes, the divine grace will give you more. Okay,
Mhm.
me personally as well as professionally, I have really clear boundaries, and I have absolutely no problem laying them. None.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm able to suss out intuitively, very quickly, instantly, in fact, whether or not the person I'm communicating with is a safe space. My level of sensitivity is developed to the point where I get a read on every person I connect to. Okay, so I use that information not for personal gain, which I very definitely could. I use that information to inform me about how best to interact with the individual or with the group in a positive way. And it may even be that I receive information that says, okay, this person or this group is so disconnected, you're not going to be able to be of service, Lynette. So in that case, I just walk away. I leave it. There's nothing for me to do here because they're not going to be able to hear me. Again, different stages of development, okay, and different stages of awareness. So we go through the filtration process, which you yourself are experiencing, right? Those people that are dissonant frequencies, okay, faith and fear cannot coexist. And as you're moving towards faith, which is very definitely a powerful component of heightened intuition, okay, you trust because over time you've learned to trust, right? And as you're moving towards faith, any dissonant frequencies, any fearful frequencies or relationships, states of mind, behaviors, choices, environments will be filtered out to free you up to move to the higher states, or will free you up to move back into balance.
And that's part of one of your amazing tools about be honored by the company you keep.
Are you honored by the company you keep, what you eat, and where you sleep, and with whom you sleep? Very, very powerful. Okay. So are you honored by the company you keep, which means as you're working to develop your intuitive sensitivities, okay, you're metaphorically trying to come out of the depths of the deep, dark water. Are you hanging around with people that keep trying to pull you back under and they may not even know it? And then we need to learn how to release them without resistance, without judgment. Okay. So are you honored by the company you keep becomes very important. And one of the stages of our growth is that we will often withdraw and no longer want to be around people. And as we withdraw, we're recalibrating. Okay. And then we may reconnect and determine whether or not this is a relationship that serves and supports our growth or not. And then we learn how to let them go without judgment, opinion, or expectation. Okay. Joe Jobs. Are you honored by the company you keep? What you eat? What you eat is very important. And a lot of people right now are experiencing gut biome issues. So because they're experiencing physical issues with their gut biome, okay, and that's, your gut is a huge component to intuitive connection, a gut feeling. I had a gut hunch, okay. When the gut biome is off, or you're experiencing indigestion or any of those things, the subtleties of intuition can be more difficult to perceive. Okay, spirit communicates in feather, ego communicates in sledgehammer. So we want to learn to become still and calm and peaceful so that we can interpret that information. And the gut is the sixth chakra. Okay, and the sixth chakra represents peace. The way to peace is through peace. So we must understand how to be at peace in the gut, and your gut is receiving information all the time. And if your gut is off, it could be saying, hey, this person you're standing next to is not good for you, or this person that you're going to go and hang out with is not good for you. And if your gut's off, if you've got indigestion or gut issues, very difficult. With whom you sleep and where you sleep. Okay, this is also really important. Most people nowadays believe that sexual connection is, something that's, willy-nilly, sleep with 3,000 people. And I really don't recommend doing that, because as soon as you sexually cord with someone, their experience is now energetically informing and interacting with your experience. So if we connect sexually through lust, through insecurity, through power over, through domination, through a predatory energy, a needy, lacking energy, okay, you're automatically out of balance. Automatically. So that begins to send you on another imbalanced experience. So recognizing that the only way to successfully, to correctly, without creating problems for yourself, to sexually cord with someone is through authentic love, real love. And a lot of people say, well, I have physical needs and I'm horny. And grow up. Grow up. I want what I want and I want it and I'm needy and I'm insecure and I'm lonely. So I need to go and have sex with some random person I met, swipe left, swipe right. And then they wonder why, for seemingly no apparent reason, their life starts to tank. And it's because invisible web of energy. Remember, you're an invisible energy being. You can't see it with myopic vision. That invisible energy is informed by your entire environment. And sex is when seen as lust, okay? Lust and fear are the two ways that negative energy can enter through the body.
Mm.
hold us down, keep our frequency in the lower vibratory states where you can't access really.
Mhm. We haven't talked much those are more distractions, so that or blocks to intuition. I was thinking of sex as a distraction and food as a distraction and
Oh, they
more
can,
ways that
yes.
yeah.
Sacred sexuality will not be a distraction. Sacred sexuality and healthy food, healthy friends, and when we use healthy, we're meaning, you know, things that will support balance, okay?
Mhm.
They will support it. Sacred sexuality can increase the intuitive connection. In fact, sacred sexuality, when two people unconditionally love and appreciate each other and don't fake it and say it because, you know, I want to get lucky tonight. Okay, when you
Mhm.
have that connection, you will feel it. And the sacred sexuality becomes so much more. It
Mm.
informs us, it heals us, it becomes a tool for manifestation. It becomes, if a couple comes together, let's imagine a mother and a father truly love each other and one of their children is ill. If they come together in sacred sexuality and make love, holding the intention that the child be healed through making love, you make love, you make more of that energy love,
Mhm.
unconditional acceptance, unconditional appreciation, and so much more. Okay, they can direct that healing energy towards the child and
Wow.
facilitate the child's healing. But we can't if our sexuality is based in lust, fear, insecurity, et cetera, which is the vast majority, particularly of Western culture. Okay, so
Mhm.
really important to clean up our behavior. And one of the reasons that I think most people don't connect to the heightened states of intuition is because they're not yet ready. Eventually they will be. Everybody comes home no matter what. They're not yet ready to let go of those very powerful ego gratifying greed,
Mhm.
lust, pride, envy, you know, the seven sins, so to speak. Okay. So they're not ready to let go of them yet. And as a result, they continue to suffer and don't realize that they're creating their own separation and suffering, literally. So
Believing
yourself,
the lie.
how many
Mhm.
things you had to let go of? How many new choices have you had to make?
So many, and it's like moment by moment too, you know?
Yes.
I can
Yes.
feel moment by moment if
Mhm.
I get pulled into like I went had a little shame spiral just this week and or even in the moment if I'm working on a horse and somebody else comes into that space and then it's like that energy follows attention is so huge. My attention goes to what's happening with that other person. I lose my connection to intuitively how to support that animal. Like
Yeah,
it's all the time.
absolutely. How to intuitively be present with someone, how to make the most out of the current experience you're having, whatever it is. Okay,
Mhm.
so when we become present and bring intuition to that moment, we maximize its potential and we automatically become of service and support. We can't help other people. We can't. I can help you mow your lawn, but I cannot help you in the awakening process. I can serve, I can support, I can offer tools, but I
Mhm.
can't actually do it for you. And I
Mhm.
can't even help you do it. Again, I can serve and support you, but I can't help you do it. You have to do it for yourself. So that asks us, moving towards heightened intuition will ask us to overcome the four mindsets that I refer to as the four demons, which is the victim mindset, the needy mindset, the righteous mindset, and the entitled mindset. And we're indoctrinated by society for eons of time to buy into these four mindsets as a way of being and living. I'm a victim. Poor me. I have no power. Life is happening to me, not for me. Oh, woe is me. Poor me. Poor me. Okay. Right. Or
Mhm.
I need you to take care of me. I need this. I need that. You don't need anything when you're in the aligned state. You're an immortal manifester. Right? So
Uh-huh.
righteous, I'm right and you're wrong. That creates polarization again. Needy, entitled, I deserve to have what I want at your expense. Entitlement. Okay, these are all mindsets that most people are running around with 24/7 and don't realize it. And these mindsets create imbalance and prevent us from experiencing that joy, that bliss, that love, that abundance that we all inherently crave.
Mhm.
Everything we do in an attempt to feel better. What most of us haven't yet come to realize, and it is most of us, we haven't yet come to realize that the way we've been programmed and taught to be for eons of time is deliberately designed to keep you stuck in the spin and out of balance, polarized in a resistant state. So it's not just that we have to let go of social conditioning and programming, indoctrination, and so on and so forth. When somebody's received a doctorate, you've been indoctrinated. And being indoctrinated and having a doctorate doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually now capable of truth. In fact, indoctrination, in my perspective, is lie. It's a lot of lies. And those lies are programmed into people who now become doctors. And these doctors are by society promoted to be, authority figures. Oh, just do what the doctor tells you. Just do what the doctor tells you. And we don't recognize that the indoctrination that the doctor got in the first place was poison seed, poison fruit.
Mhm.
And society, that is why Earth is in the state that it's in, because we absolutely cannot go any farther. We're in the state of collapse, which says we can't do this anymore. We literally can't do this anymore. We are in such a state of imbalance that everything is falling apart. Now, if you don't know who you are and you're not connected to intuition, as it's falling apart, you're going to be, oh no, in fear, as opposed to it is what it is. It needs to collapse. Two things cannot coexist in the same space in the same time. So what doesn't serve you must collapse and be released through your free will before what does serve you can rise up. So what does serve us is really always there. It's just covered with the layers of social conditioning and programming and lies. So the awakening process essentially says, remove the layers.
Mhm.
Rise up, claim your birthright. Remember, there's really only one of us here. What hurts one hurts all, no matter what. Even if the person doesn't know you're lying, even if the person doesn't see you robbing them. The law of correspondence, the law of communication says everything is communicating with everything else all the time, which is also the principle of intuition, one of the principles of intuition. Communicating all the time. Are you listening? Have you set yourself free from the shame and the punishment and the indoctrination that says you have to earn it, you have to be deserving of it, you have to be worthy of it? And also words like purity. Purity has been connected to perfectionism.
Mhm.
Perfectionism is a maladaptive coping mechanism. And if you're trying to be perfect, you'll never receive intuition. I see this all the time where people will say, lay on this mat and wear this necklace and wear this outfit and hold these crystals and do all these things. And granted, there are some benefits to some of these tools, but the tool is the tool. You're the power. And so believe that if we do this and we do that, again, all in the external reality, then we'll align with divine and have the intuitive sensitivities. And nothing could be farther from the truth. It's just another distraction. It's just another wild goose chase. And a lot of people are on that right now, because one of the ways that the negative forces, if you will, are trying to control us is by pumping out a bunch of spiritual teachers into the mainstream narrative. Okay. And the teachers are falsely programmed on purpose to share information and messages that are just enough to hook you, but not enough to actually set you free. Again, the intuition will elude you.
This is so important, because how can people discern and not fall into false teachers?
Again,
layer.
we awaken, or we rise up, or we remember our true self in stages and degrees, right? So we have to come to realize in stages and degrees through experience. Knowledge is experience. Knowledge is not intellectual information that we receive and then regurgitate. That's dangerous stuff. lie. Don't believe everything you think. Thoughts absolutely will lie, and they are designed to lie to us. So we must begin in stages and degrees, depending on where each individual's at. Some of us have some sensitivities more developed than others, and then we take what we learned in one area of our life and apply it in another area of our life. And so it doesn't happen overnight. It's really important. And perfectionism is one of the things that a lot of people are indoctrinated into buying into, and it's conditional love. So we believe that if we were perfect, that our parents would love us, but our parents weren't actually able to love us because our parents weren't able to love themselves because their parents weren't able to love themselves, and so on and so on. And the generational, dysfunction is perpetuated that way. So we need to let go of the idea that perfectionism exists. In fact, I would call perfectionism mental imbalance. I do not buy into mental illness. Okay, unless you directly received damage to the skull, to the brain. Okay, there is no chemical imbalance in the brain. Okay, chemical imbalance is one of the ways that society's got us buying into taking things that we really don't need to take, when in actuality, what we're experiencing is imbalance. And we're suffering so much that we turn to the medical system, which says, oh, I've got a pill for that. But what it really does is, like, for example, antidepressants. Antidepressants don't get rid of the depression. Antidepressants numb you down so you no longer feel the depression. And if you were deeply depressed, the absence of or the numbing of the depression feels like relief. What actually become, from my interpretation is, or my description of it was, a flatliner. And somebody who's a flatliner, who's numbed from their feelings, cannot receive what, Chris?
Intuition.
There you go. Right? So meditation, numb them down, dumb them down, because intuition is constantly coming in without exception. So the corrupt society, the corrupt agenda, which has been at play for a very, very long time, okay, has deliberately created a dream within a dream. We fall into the physical reality. We're already separate from our higher self. And then what's been done is that they've created another dream, another trap. And if you want to survive, essentially, they've created it in such a way that you have to buy into their deeper trap, which will numb you and cut you off from that intuitive guidance. Because the intuitive guidance would say, don't drink that alcohol, don't take that cocaine, don't sleep with that predator, don't give yourself away, don't allow yourself to be treated like this, don't do that thing, don't say that thing, because it's going to move you out of balance. So naturally, we've been inundated with a myriad of ways to disconnect from intuition. Once we awaken and connect to intuition, you can no longer be controlled by the system. My metaphor for that is the movie The Matrix. We are Neo. In reality, I play the role of Neo because I'm constantly evolving and growing myself, but I am bulletproof. I've reached the bulletproof point that Neo did. And I also play the role of Morpheus, who will guide you through the process, retrain you, and the Oracle, who will use the benefit of my intuitive guidance to serve and support you on the path to awakening your own guidance. But I will also say, okay, I am not your guru. Don't put me on a pedestal. I'll fall off, I'll jump off, or you'll push me off. We are designed to be sovereign beings. We are not designed to be externally controlled, manipulated, and powered. A sovereign being is connected to their higher conscious self and no longer needs an authority outside of them to say, this is out of balance, this is balanced. You know yourself. So when we become sovereign, metaphorically, we become bulletproof. We're no longer going to fall prey to the external social conditioning and programming that's deliberately designed to disempower us so we cannot connect to the intuitive guidance, which will save the day every day in every way. It's so fantastic. It's absolutely... I would not be in this physical body without intuition. If somebody said to me, I'm now going to remove your intuitive sensitivities, I'll say, okay, and I'm checking out. I'm not staying. There's no way I'm doing this monkey show, this gong show without intuition. Holy moly. No way. I mean, you can see why people end up in such a mess.
Yeah, it's your life force. It's like, well, It's just this essential cord.
Yeah, that's one way you could say it. It is our lifeline.
Yeah.
They are lifeline. And one of the things we need to recognize at the initial stages of remembering, awakening, tuning in, whatever you want to call it, is that it is yours by birthright. It's yours no matter what. And you can't screw this up. So get rid of Joe Jobs. And I call Joe Jobs judgments, opinions, and expectations. Get rid of them. Love yourself unconditionally. Appreciate yourself unconditionally. Fall down, face plant, fuck up, whatever you need to. It doesn't matter. Get back up and say, okay, what did I learn from it? And if that face plant didn't feel good, then pay attention. Learn where you went out of balance so that you don't have to do it again, and practice until you no longer do it. And then you'll master that particular area and you'll strengthen, you'll increase your power, you'll realign, and then so on, and just do it in every area of our lives until we reach a point where we can see through. We can see through. I absolutely can see through what's going on. I can see it as at the collective level. I can see it at the individual level. So if I'm interacting with anyone and they think they're pulling one over on me, no, you're not. I will have received the intuitive tweak in some way that said they're out of balance. And I can see this when I'm in balance myself. So I put all my effort into being in balance. Greater insight and clarity. When you're in balance, you can see somebody else's imbalance. So I might get an intuitive nudge or message that says, and then I just sit and I watch. And it will be revealed and you go, yep, there it is. Yep, thanks. I know you now. I had a hunch and now you've demonstrated it for me. So now I know.
That's the sip, don't gulp.
Sip, don't gulp. Absolutely. And how many of us are so needy and insecure and desperate for love that we have to give to ourselves. We're desperate for that connection. We're desperate for that connection to our higher self. And we don't yet realize we're seeking it outside of ourselves. And we will compromise ourselves and gulp, not realizing there's a flat fly in there. And if you'd sipped, you'd have caught the fly. But we're so needy. We're so desperate. We're so separate. We're so disconnected. We're so lonely. We're in so much pain and suffering right now, unlike the planet. We've hit the bottom. We've hit that. Done. Okay. And you're either going to seek further distraction, moving out of balance, moving away from the intuition, or you're going to remain present with what's uncomfortable. Remember that you are love, release what you are not, and watch your intuitive sensitivities increase. I guarantee it every single time. I've been doing this work for decades, and I have never, ever seen it not work when someone knows how to correctly apply the tools. And one of the stages is learning how to recognize which tools work and which ones don't. So we could go on and on. We are back on next week, right? We are back on next week, same time. If anybody wants to join us. So before we go, is there anything else you'd like to add, Chris? Is there anything you want to share about your own journey?
Well, I wanted to share something about you, which is you just really demonstrated what for me is the filter of a true teacher, that you're hip to the matrix.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Been there. Tried it out.
Yes.
There's knowledge.
Which is like
experience. Oh, yeah.
Use that as a filter, people. And then also that you are completely unwilling to be worshipped.
No.
And those are two big things we see.
No. Oh, no. You're going to move me out of balance. Okay, one of my favorite quotes is by Rumi, and he says, we're all just really walking each other home. Yeah. Okay. I may have said that not quite perfectly, but you get the message. Okay. Yeah. That's what we're doing. And in fact, you'll find somebody who is in the awakened state, conscious, connected, aligned with divine. Okay. The fourth stage of consciousness is somebody who will not feel the worshiping as a pleasant experience because it immediately creates the polarization. It creates superior and inferior, which is not comfortable. Do I have more awareness than the vast majority of humans? Yes, I do, but it doesn't make me special. Again, special, not special, more polarization. All it means is that, you know, I'm in grade 10 and the vast majority of people are in lower grades. That's all. I've just mastered it. And I've come to serve and support my brothers and sisters in this embodiment, I've come to do this work. This is all I've come to do, to increase my own awareness, to strengthen the connection myself, because we never arrive, and to just model the way and to be of service and support. So there is a warning there. If you are following a teacher or watching someone who wants that worship, it's called idolatry. And we see this a lot through movie stars. Why aren't we all stars? They're the stars. We're separation. Watch out. Okay. And you'll see this because they get a little bit of intellectual information. And because we're going through the Great Awakening right now, anybody who's ready and willing to awaken is seeking. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they don't realize that these movie stars and, social influencers, all right, are actually a part of the corrupt system. And they don't know what they don't know. So they promote themselves as teachers because they receive some intellectual information, but they don't know actually, nor do they actually apply it. Okay, so a true teacher is going to be modeling it. And you can't spend very much time with me before you'll see me model it. Mm-hmm. You'll see me lay a boundary. You'll see me confront the difficult issue. You'll see me bring truth where there are lies. You'll see me expose things. You'll see me walk away. And that's the best that we can do. So again, yes, absolutely. Every master is a former disaster. You're not born special with all the awareness. Okay. Anybody who's reached the state that I'm at and much higher, okay, we expand infinitely, is somebody who's crawled out of the trenches. Every master is a former disaster. How do we know? Experience. How do I know I don't want to do that thing? Because I did it, right? And we also want to remember, you can't unknow what you know. Once you come to know something, you know it. It's a question of whether you apply what you know. What is wisdom?
Knowledge applied.
Right. But that's not what you're going to be seeing in the dictionary or what most people believe. Most people believe that wisdom is, I read 1,000 books, I understand it intellectually, so therefore I think I've arrived. No. You feel the arrival. You feel the remembering. You feel the intuition. Okay. Yeah. Very, very important. And this is why society gives us so many ways to disconnect from our feelings. Next week, we could talk about the masculine and the feminine.
Oh, yes.
And how the disconnection is created with the masculine and feminine.
I love that.
Yeah, I could just go on forever and ever. Thank you so much, Chris, for doing this with me. You ask such great questions, and I love that you're patient when I steal the time and do most of the talking. And
I'm so grateful to be part of it. And every conversation I receive so many gifts. So thank you.
Thank you. And that's what we do for each other, right? I have nothing to do here if not to be of service and support to those that are awakening. And I have to tell you, from my experience and having done this work for many, many years, I began, discussing metaphysics at 6 years old with my grandmother, and my intuitive sensitivity, she was playing with me when I was a little girl. And I didn't realize everybody could do this, but there is one thing that I would very definitely say. Of all the experiences I've had in this body that I refer to as Lynette, the single greatest gift that I have experienced, bar none, is the ability, the privilege to be of service and support and to witness one who is remembering. So you become my gift. You inspire me. So thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it very much. Thank you, everybody who joined us, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same channel. Thank you, Chris. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Lynette. You too. Bye, everyone.